My name is Lorraine DeJong, and I'm an associate professor in the education department. Well, for this particular assignment, I use reflection in Ed 120, Human Development, which is a GER option for all of our students, and it's a required course for all education majors. I use reflection in order to help students make connections between what they're reading in their textbook as well as the lectures from class with their past experiences as well as their present experiences in the field work that they do for the class out in a public school classroom. I also use reflection to informally assess their understanding of the content that I'm teaching. So it's not a formal assessment, but an informal assessment where I monitor how well they understood the concepts. After I finish a topic in human development, students are asked to complete a reflection that is related to that topic. Feedback is provided to the student on Moodle. The students submit the reflections on Moodle, and then I give them feedback on Moodle. The students are reflecting on, they have a choice of what they want to reflect on, and what I do is I don't take off if they're applying concepts related to the content in their reflection. So I don't take off if they've misunderstood a concept, but I use it to then clarify something we talked about in class. I find that all students participate in the reflections. I should say that I don't give a grade for oral participation in class. I find that some students would just raise their hand and just to say something, but this is a written reflection, and this way it gives a chance for everybody to be engaged with the content. It also provides a good review of the content. We call it distributed practice, which we know is one of the better ways for students to remember information. So they've heard the content in lecture, and then through the reflection they're practicing the content, but they're also rehearsing the content. And then I give them feedback, and then we use it. Then later they'll have a review session for an exam, so they will have practiced the content multiple times, which we know helps them to remember the information better. Well, I think this could be adapted to any class. I think this could be, you just have to identify the topics for your class, and then my topics are approximately every 2 weeks. So students are completing 7 of these reflections over the course of a semester. So a topic may last 2 weeks, and then I have the students do a reflection after the topic is completed. It's called a lecture reflection. So they're constantly engaged with the class. So, but I do this in the absence of a participation grade that's orally. So I know the students are practicing the material through the reflection activity, and that's required, but I don't require them to raise their hand in class and answer so many. I hope they will participate, but I don't necessarily require that. And that's why I think any professor could adapt this, because you just have to identify your topics of what you're covering, and then have students try to make connections with that content to their own experiences, their own beliefs, and then therefore I think several courses lend themselves to this type of activity. My students have told me, one of the things I like, another reason I like this strategy is I get to know the students better as people. I get to know them as, students that have histories and backgrounds, and I find I get closer to them. Get to know their personalities and their backgrounds. And I also might add that in addition to the connections that they make and the informal monitoring that happens with this assignment, I also have a baseline of their writing. And because it's an introductory class, I'm able to say, maybe check over your writing. You had several grammatical errors. Or another student, I might actually refer to our writing lab in order to try to get them some more help with writing, because I know that's going to be important as they go through the time that they spend with us here. So it provides me a baseline of their writing. And then, of course, I think it's important, too, because in human development, we're trying to foster development while they learn about development. And therefore, I think that this assignment also helps them in their identities, helping them really figure out, well, what do I really believe? What's really important to me and what isn't? I forgot to mention